All right, we're going to start today with working with how to fill text with images in Photoshop. This is part one of a two-part assignment this week. And as part of the assignment, I want to show you how to navigate around Canvas to get to the assignment, how you'll go through the assignment, how you'll ultimately save the assignment, and also how you access Adobe Creative Cloud, which is an important feature. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my modules and I'm going to pull up the assignment. The assignment's located here, Getting Acquainted with Creative Cloud, How to Fill Text with Images in Photoshop. Inside the assignment, I've created a link to the tutorial. You can use either the written tutorial or you can use this video. The written tutorial is going to take you step by step through the images, including I've attached images here for this image, here for this image, and exactly the same way for the third image as well. The next thing I need to do is I'm going to open up my Adobe Creative Cloud. To do that, I'm just going to type in my address bar Adobe Creative Cloud, and eventually you'll have a shortcut to that. And when I go to the site, I'm going to log in. To log into Creative Cloud, I simply go to sign in the top right of the screen, and I'm going to sign in with Google. Okay, and that's really nice for us because we have this enterprise ID with our single sign-in for Google. When I do that, it's going to just go ahead and log me in because I'm already logged into my Google Drive, as you'll see. From there, you can navigate to Photoshop by clicking on this grid of 9 squares, go down to More, and choose your Creative Cloud apps, where you can view all of the ones that are available to you. You can see that on this computer, I've installed Photoshop, and therefore it says open if I want to open it. I've also done the same for Illustrator and Acrobat. But for any other file or any other apps that I want to use, I'll have to install them. That's not the case in the classroom, but at home you will need to install them, and then you'll be able to use them. For this assignment, we're going to be using Photoshop. I'm going to click open, and I'll be ready to start. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to the tutorial, and you'll see that in the tutorial there's an image to download. I'm going to navigate to that site, and all I have to do is click free download, and it'll download to my computer. Once it downloads, you'll have it wherever you saved it. So in this case, I'm going to navigate away from this page and back to my Photoshop document. And I'm going to go to File, Open, and I'm going to find the image, which is located right here on my desktop. Now that I've opened the file, I'm ready to get started. The first thing I want to do is I want to add some text. The text I want to add is going to be bold and a sans serif font, and you want to use a thick font, right, so that you can really see that image in the text. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to my type tool, and once I select my type tool, I'll have a drop down list of all the different fonts I can use. I'm going to go ahead and select this, and you can see I've chosen this Acumen Variable Concept in Condensed Ultra Black. So that means it's going to be bold, right? And I can get an idea of what it looks like, and the letters are going to be close together, hence the word condensed. And I'm just going to go ahead and click on my screen, and you'll see that some text pops up. That's fine. It's just giving me a preview of what the type's going to look like. So you can see that this is a nice large font, and now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to center it on my screen so it's centered horizontally and vertically. I also want to make sure that my layers panel is easy to see because I'm going to have to do some work in there. The next step is I'm going to double click on my background layer so that it's not locked anymore. It's basically going to change it into a regular layer, right? And we can just call it background copy. I'm going to select OK. And I'm going to drag it above the type layer. Once I've done that, I'm going to go to Layer, Create Clipping Mask. And you'll see there's a shortcut. You can use Command or Control Alt G on the PC or Command Option G on a Mac. When I do that, now it's going to go ahead and it's going to create that clipping mask, making it so that my text is now, or my image is now inside the text. I don't have a background, however, so I want to add a background, right? To do that, and actually before I do that, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to use the arrows on my keyboard to move the image to the left so that the image is exactly where I want it to go. So you can just see I'm just continuing to click over to the left. And now I think that looks better. The surfer is like right in the middle. He's fully visible. It looks pretty good. So let's create a background for this image. All I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer, right, called layer 1. I'm going to drag it to the bottom because that's going to be my background. So it's going to be the furthest layer down. I'm going to go to Layer, New, Background Layer. And this will give you a new white background. Okay? Again, make sure that before you save your file that you move this background, and you can move the background by going to the background copy so that you're very happy with the placement of your image on the file. When you're done, I'm just going to go to File, Save As, so that my file's saved, and we'll call it Surf. I'll actually make sure it's got my name on it. And I'll hit Save. And I'm ready for my next, I'm ready for the next step. So the next step is we're going to do a slightly different approach. We're going to make a word stand up on top of the background. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open, using the tutorial, the photo of the forest that I provided for you. Okay, once you've downloaded it from the internet, go ahead and click on it and select Open. Just like we did before, you're going to create your text in a bold sans serif font. So you can grab your type tool and you can select a different font that you're happy with. And again, it's nice. You can see a sampling of exactly what they look like. I'm going to try this. Oops, I missed it. Well, actually, let's go with something more traditional. I'm just going to use this impact font, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click just one time, and I'm going to type in forest. You're going to notice that it's way too large. So I'm going to take my font size, and I'm going to shrink it all the way down to 72 so that I can see the whole thing. I'm going to grab my move tool. I'm going to move it back into the screen, and I'm going to do two things. One is I want it to be all capitalized, so I'm going to retype the word. And two, I'm going to highlight it, and it can be a little bit bigger. So I'm going to highlight it, set it to the type to 100 by typing in 100. And now it's too big. So it takes a little bit of trial and error, which is fine. And we'll do 80, and I'm pretty happy with that. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to position my text right here. I'm going to center it on my page. I'm going to position it up right next to the top of the screen. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a blank area. The way we're going to do that is we're going to make a new layer beneath the text layer. Okay, so to do that, I clicked on the new layer icon, and then I simply just drag the layer down. Okay, and I'm going to grab my rectangular marquee tool, which is right here, and I'm going to create a rectangle that covers all the text. But I do want to make sure that it doesn't go much below the text, right? And you can see I've got my snap guidelines on, so it gives me that pink sort of notification when I'm right on them. So let's go with that. We're gonna click D, just the letter D, to make sure our foreground and background colors are set to black for foreground and white to background. All right, so that's not really gonna do anything. And then you're gonna hold down Control and backspace, and it's going to go ahead and it's going to cut out, it's going to fill the selection with your background color, which in this case is white. Now we're going to duplicate the background. So I'm going to go to my background layer. I'm going to right click. I'm going to say duplicate layer. We'll just call it background copy. I'm going to drag that all the way up to the top of my document. Now you're going to go down and you're going to select your background copy or your background layer. Sorry. Select your background copy layer. And we're going to hold down Control Alt G, right? To use the layer as a clipping mask. Okay. So again, I can hold down Control Alt G, and there you go. I just created a clipping mask and I got the result of now the top of the forest now blends into the lettering with the bottom part fully visible below it. Okay. If there's anything that I wanted to change, right, I can always move my images up or down. I can go to my text layer and adjust that if I wanted to move it up or down if there was any spaces. And again, I'm pretty happy with the result. And so I'm done with this one. I'm going to go to File, Save As. We'll call this Forest. And again, I'm going to put my name on it. And I'm going to save it. Last step. Let's go to File, Open. And this is going to show you some new tools in Photoshop 2019. It has a new and easier way of producing like the same technique that we did in step 1. So we're going to use this image of London. And I already downloaded it. So I'm going to open it. You'll see it opens in a new tab on Photoshop. And I'm going to add the text. I'm going to add some text just like we did before. So I'm going to grab my text tool. I'm going to choose a font. Let's find a good font. Let's try this. And I'm going to type in London. And let's see what our options are. Let's go with black condensed. Do you see what a difference that makes? It's really going to open me up to being able to make this font much larger. I'm going to center it on my screen. And I could even, in this case, go back to my type tool, highlight the text, and I can even make it bigger. Let's see what like 250 looks like. I think that's still going to work. So I'm going I'm gonna move this over. Oh, it's a little bit too big, so let's just go back. Let's try like 220. Let's try 230. That looks good. And so again, I'll just grab my move tool. I'm gonna position it right where I want, right centered right there. And then I'm also going to set the word London so that that ascender of the D lines up with the clock tower. I'm actually gonna be a little bit off, but that's all right. I can live with that. But you can play around with obviously the placement. It could go anywhere on the screen, but I feel like the skyline is gonna be the nicest look. We're gonna go ahead and go to Layer, New, and we're gonna say Convert to Frame. And we'll use the name London. Okay, and now here's how the frame layer looks. You can just make out the text as blue outlines. So now we're gonna put the background in the frame. We're gonna double click the background layer to make it into a regular layer. And that's fine, we'll just call it layer 0. And now you can see that your background layer is already in the frame. So on the layer 0 frame, here, we're gonna need to drag that in there. There we go. So now it's already done most of the work for us, right? And we can select back and forth to move the content around. So the layer consists of 2 parts, right? We've got the content, the frame, which is here, London, and we've got the content, which is here. And that allows us to move our image up or down. And so you can see, if I do this nicely, I might just keep it like right there. And that's it, right? You just move the content around so that you're happy with it. And you can file, save as. We'll call this one London. And again, I'll put my name on it. And we'll hit save. So let's turn this in. Very simple. Let's go to File, New. And let's just go ahead and set up a document. Let's make it, well, let's just make it as if it was going to be like a picture size. Let's go 5 inches by 7 inches height. We'll hit create. And then I'm just gonna go back to each of these and make sure, let's see what the image size is. So let's make it so that the width is no larger than 5 inches, right? Because we just set a new file to be 5 by 7. So I'm gonna say okay. And then how about here? We'll go to image, image size. Let's see how that works. We just made it a little bit bigger. Hopefully that won't make it blurry. And then, oh, but I know what the problem's gonna be. Let's go to image, image size. Let's actually make it smaller. Let's do 4. Select OK. And then let's go to the surf one. We're gonna go to image size. And let's just change the width to 5. Let's select OK. And then I can save all these just by clicking on them and just saying File, Save. I'm going to go to Window, Arrange, Float All in Windows. And let's go ahead and do them in order of how we created them. We'll just do the surf one first. Oops, sorry. Let's do one more thing. That was my fault. Let's, just like we did previously, we are going to go to image, and let's actually we'll do it a little bit easier way. Click on the drop-down menu right here in your layers panel and go to flatten image. That'll make it easy. Now it won't fall apart on you. You can drag it across. And there's our first image centered on the screen. I'll minimize it. Here's our second image. I'm gonna do the same thing again. So I'm just gonna go to this drop-down menu, say flatten image, and we'll drag that in. I'll move it down so it's right below. Also centered on the page. Let's go to our London image. And not really necessary, but we'll just say flatten image anyways. It's all tied together. Let's throw that in there. And then I can maximize this one. Spend just a minute formatting it so it looks good. Everything's like pretty nicely spaced out. And let's go ahead and say file save as. I'm gonna call it Ruben. And let's call it fill text. I'm gonna say save. And one more step and we're done. Export, save for web. Let's change it so that the width is 600, and we're going to change it to JPEG. Save. I'm going to put it on my desktop and I'll show you why in a second. I'm going to hit save, and we're good. So now I'm done with Photoshop. You can save all your changes before you quit out. And let's look at the desktop for 1 second. So I've got all these documents. You'll see I created a folder for myself over here. Okay, it's my fill text with images. So I've got my wave. I'm gonna put that in the folder. I've got my forest. I'm gonna put that in the folder. I got my picture of London. I'm gonna put that in the folder. Then I've also got my 3 Photoshop documents, my surf, forest, and London. And then lastly, I've got my Photoshop and JPEG of my final image. So the reason I'm doing that is because I want to now that my stuff is organized, I need to have a safe place to keep my files. And so this is a very important step. I'm going to log into my Google Drive, and it's this easy. I want to show you how easy this is. And you should get in the habit of doing this every day when you leave class. If you worked on a file, right, you're just going to go ahead and you can open up. See, I created a folder in Google Drive called Multimedia 1920. To create a folder, you just literally click on New, Folder, you give it a name. So again, I called mine Multimedia 2019 and 20. That way you can keep all of your files in here. They'll always be safe. As long as you log out every day, nobody will be able to access them. And then in your drive, if you want to organize your stuff, since we just created it, you just change it from name to last modified. And there it is, the folder I just created. You can see I just created it. There's nothing in there. And I'm just going to minimize this window slightly so you can see how easy this is. I'm going to take this folder and I'm literally just going to move it into my Google Drive. Now it is a pretty large file, so it's going to take a minute to upload. And then we'll be all set. Great, so there it is. So it's done. If I open this file, here are my files, safe as can be. Nobody can access them. Nobody's gonna ever delete them off of my computer, and we're gonna maintain plenty of space on our computer. The last thing for you to do is to look at the assignment. You're gonna click on submit. Yours looks different than mine. So you'll click on submit, and then all you have to do is in the file, you're gonna submit the file we just created, only one file, and it should look exactly like this. Great job. Thanks for your attention, and let me know if you